Hey, this is Chris from Blue Ridge Heating and Air here with Ben and Brian, and we're here to talk to you about electrification, heat pumps, and dual fuel. So we'll just kind of kick this off with a question here. What are you guys seeing out in the industry as far as heat pumps and tax credits and kind of that thing?
Most people are probably aware back in 2022, the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, which includes incentives to get people to abandon fossil fuels in favor of electricity. So there's tax credits for electric vehicles. And in our space, the relevant piece is for heat pumps, right? So the most popular tax credit that we've had our customers use is you can get 30% of the installation and equipment cost of a new qualifying heat pump up to a maximum of $2,000 as a tax credit. So we've actually had a flurry of installs here at the end of the year, presumably partially to take advantage of that tax credit for when they do their taxes next year.
And as the technology evolves, there's a lot of products qualify for that tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really take advantage of that, and people have. And it makes it nice when we get to lower temperatures where we can use the gas furnace for the heat, and they're not using electric heat strips. So it comes in, it helps us a lot around here, especially with the older people around here, helping keep them warm.
Brian, you said something interesting. You said something about heat strips versus gas heat. Can you just kind of maybe walk us through that a little bit more? What do you mean by that?
I think of heat strips as a big electric hair dryer.
Okay.
With the coils, and it draws a lot of electrical and draws a lot of electrical power, which raises your power bill.
Okay.
Where the gas furnace can run on natural gas or propane, which is you're getting a warmer heat out of it.
So you can actually mix a heat pump and a gas furnace together?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Meaning that you can have it where the heat pump will run great down to about 35 degrees, the conventional systems. But some of the systems that are coming out, let me backtrack. Then we can go to the gas furnace below 35 and giving you a warmer heat, maintaining a temperature in the house.
Okay.
A comfortable temperature in the house, I should say.
And that can work both on natural gas and propane?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a propane kit, which all furnaces come out with a natural furnace, a natural gas. They're set up for natural. And at that point, you switch it over to LP if you have LP at the house. So
pretty cool. So you see a lot of customers headed that direction, doing that kind of thing?
Over the years, we've had plenty of customers, a lot of customers who have done that. So
That setup or application where you have the heat pump that provides all your cooling and then most of your heating, and then the gas furnace kicks in below 40 or 35 degrees, as Brian was saying. It's typically called dual fuel. Sometimes you'll hear it called hybrid. And what's interesting is we're seeing the federal government push people more towards electricity, and then on the local level, we're seeing the local utilities like Duke and Greenville, Lawrence Electric, struggling to meet the electrical demand. And so they're actually pushing incentives out there for the homeowners to go with dual fuel. So in their case, where maximum demand is going to come on their facilities in the wintertime, when it's, say, like I think tonight is going to be close to 20 degrees, people that are on a dual fuel system, their system's going to switch over to the furnace. So that house won't be pulling on the grid for heating in that situation. They'll be pulling on the natural gas to heat at that time. So from an energy balance situation for the utility, they actually like the dual fuel. So there's actually pretty good incentives. Like Lawrence Electric has $1,000 incentive if you install a dual fuel system. I don't think Duke has one specifically for dual fuel, but I'm hearing there may be changes next year. So we'll see.
Okay. Is Duke putting out more for heat pumps too? Do they have good incentives in that space?
Yeah, Duke has pretty good incentives for heat pumps. It's a little bit different if your equipment's already failed versus you're doing a proactive change to get better energy efficiency out of your house. But they're pretty good. It can be, I know we've seen common ones that we sell, systems qualify for $700 or $800.
I'm also seeing people who are doing the proactive as well. We had a few customers who do that recently.
So you mean by proactive before it's failed?
Before it's failed, before the major component failure, and then they would change it out before. It's still running, it's still heating the house, but it's just, they know it's at the end of its lifespan. So
if you're a homeowner, Brian, how would you know something's coming to the end of its lifespan? And you have any recommendations there?
I think the normal maintenance program that we have allows our guys to really pinpoint issues or potential issues coming up. So in that, they have a history. We're able to monitor it over the years, and we can see it starting to taper off. So that's a real plus. Now, if you don't have the maintenance program, you're kind of taking a shot in the dark.
Okay.
I think one of the things that kind of pushes people, certainly not necessarily proactive, if they have a major component failure, then it's kind of like that repair, replace concern. But kind of in general, if the trend of repair costs has been creeping up over time, and the homeowner is looking at their financial investments and their HVAC system, like, hey, every year I'm having to do this or that repair. It's always something, then you can make the analysis that maybe it makes more sense to put that money into a new system, save money on the on my utility bills at the same time, and have more reliable heating and cooling.
And there's also the availability of the parts for the older systems. Some parts are not available, or they're 2-3 months out. You can't get them. So that will push to the change out.
Right. We just talked about, dual fuel and those kind of things and heat pumps. And do you want to talk a little bit about maybe some of the newer technologies that you're seeing out there with the new heat pumps that are coming out on the market?
There's a few out there right now. Mitsubishi has one, and there's another one that is called Arctic Flex. It's a one that can really heat the house down to minus 4 degrees comfortably. And there's the compressor technology is able to recapture that heat and discharge it into the house, so you're much more comfortable. It's almost like a gas furnace heat.
Okay.
So, and it's a modulating compressor, and it does so much more than the conventional systems. So here at the shop, we just installed one, and it's been working excellent. I guess over a month we've had it, and every morning we come in, it's at 72 degrees. It's very comfortable, and where the old system, you can feel it changing temperatures as it ramped up to get to temperature in the morning.
And that system replaced roughly a 12-year-old conventional heat pump with electric heat strips. Right? And so we had people here in the office that actually would have, which is common in office settings, a little space heater and things by their desk because weren't quite comfortable enough in the wintertime. And this Arctic Flex system, which is new to us, the technology, the equipment's been sold in Canada by our distributor for over 5 years. It's designed for those cold climates. It feels like gas heat. I mean, we were here last week, it was 20 degrees, and it felt like we had nice gas furnace heat. And I know, Brian, historically, you've told me when you have a customer that's particularly an elderly customer, people tend to get cold. I'm getting older. I notice myself getting colder. When they say, I want to replace this gas furnace system with a heat pump, you typically don't want to do it because it's not going to deliver a heat that makes them feel comfortable, what they're used to. But I think we can say with this Arctic Flex system and the Mitsubishi Hyperheat systems that are available, that you can install a heat pump and replace a gas furnace, and that customer's going to be happy with the heat, as long as everything's sized correctly for their home.
Yes. I think with this system here, very pleased with it. The customer we just installed one with, he said he cannot believe how warm the house is and how evenly the heat is throughout the whole house. So with the older system that we replaced, it was a 22 SEER system. So, but it ran its lifespan. Yeah. So
I think there's two people I can think of that are getting excited about this particular system. One are the people that just, they want to reduce their carbon footprint, get off the fossil fuels. Mm-hmm. This is a nice alternative to a traditional gas furnace system, particularly if they currently have an 80% furnace they're replacing. It's a good option. But the one that's even more interesting to me are the people that don't have natural gas piped to their house. They have a propane tank.
Right.
The fuel's expensive, mm-hmm. several $100, $400, $500, $600 a month to heat their house in the wintertime. When it comes time to replace that furnace, putting one of these in, then you just reserve that propane fuel for your generator if you have one, or any other gas things in your house, but typically much less month-to-month consumption than what your gas furnace would be doing today.
Mm-hmm.
Would you do that in a dual fuel configuration too, the Arctic Flex? Or do you think just straight heat pump, or what's your thoughts there?
You could do it in the dual fuel. My feeling is that that heat pump will almost never fire up, right? The blower motor will be used to distribute the air in the house, but unless your outdoor unit fails for some reason, it should never come on, right?
Right. And I think as we do away with the oil furnaces as well, it'd be a great replacement.
Yeah, we just talked about the tax credit ban, and I don't know. I mean, what do you? I mean, this is totally hypothetical. What do you see coming in 2025 with the new administration?
Well, I've asked that question to our distributors, and no one's got anything for me. But knowing that the new president-elect Trump has tagged Elon Musk to be kind of this budget hatchet man, I kind of thought if I was in his shoes, knowing what I know, which is not near as much as those guys know, where would I look? And I don't think there's much debate that the Inflation Reduction Act really doesn't reduce inflation. We don't want to make this a political podcast, but I could see that act and pieces of that act in particular being prime for the chopping block by a new administration. So, I can't sit here and say I think that tax credit's going to be available 2 or 3 years from now. But, Musk has an electric car company. There's some competing interests, so maybe he wants to keep it up, right? I don't know. That's a hard call.
What do you think, bro?
Well, I've heard stories about they're going to do away with the tax credit for the electric vehicles. So we get back to the furnaces along with the electric vehicles. But then you brought up Musk, right? How much does he want to give up to that? So that's a hard sell.
But the trends are right. The tax credit's there, and utilities are incentivizing both electrical and gas, right? Heat pumps and gas. So there's just good opportunities out there for folks to.
But with that, Duke has always had something incentives to help either go with a higher SEER system or a more efficient system to help with your power bills.
Okay.
So they may stick around as well.
Well, I mean, and Chris and I both come from a power generation background, and you see companies and the government spend like tremendous amounts of money to get an extra 1 or 2% of efficiency on the generation side. And there's on the shelf technology available in heat pumps and furnaces and all that gives you way more than a 1 or 2% efficiency gain. It just has to be bought and installed, right? So that's why the incentives are there, because, they spend a boatload of money to get it on the generation side or give a small fraction of that to their customer base and start reducing on the consumption side.
So do you have any examples that you're thinking about, Ben, on that? For if you're a customer or homeowner, what would be that lowest cost option for them, do you think?
Lowest cost option.
Or the best energy efficient option for the customer?
Every house is different. Every customer situation is different, right? A relatively common example would be someone's got a 13-year-old air conditioner with a gas furnace, right? 80% gas furnace. It's in their attic. And they've decided it's time to replace it. There's 2 really attractive options. One we talked about earlier, this Arctic Flex system. Heat pump, you can do away with the gas. The heat pump will perform all the way down to near 0 degrees. And we're actually going to do probably an in-person seminar here in our Brevard office probably within the next month or 2. And so any customer or listeners invited to attend that, we'll advertise it and also put it on a podcast as well. The other option that would be really good would be a dual fuel system, right? Okay. Get an efficient heat pump. So, in the Carolinas, most of the time, the heat's going to be provided by that heat pump. But then on the occasion when it drops below 40, 35 degrees, they'll switch over to the gas. And depending on where that furnace is going to go, we might recommend, a 93 to 98% furnace, or if it's in the attic, probably 80% to get the most efficient heat delivery to their system, to the house.
But you mentioned Arctic Flex. Now with a heat pump like that going down to 0 degrees, minus 22 degrees, there's something you get 60% out of it, of the heat pump. So now if you have a dual fuel application with the Arctic Flex, you can run that heat pump down to 0 degrees. And very rarely would you have the heat pump come or the gas furnace come on, but you would have the heat pump running continuously and getting off the fossil fuels.
Right. Yeah. So there's more. That's why it's a hard question, Chris, because there's a lot of good options, and every individual has things that are of particular importance to them in their budget and all that. So, what's my ideal solution may not be Brian's, right?
All right. So here's the question, Brian. So what's in your home?
I have a heat pump with a LP gas furnace, 2-stage gas furnace. So installed it about 4 years ago, before the Arctic Flex came out, but I've been very pleased with it.
Ben, how about you?
Yeah, so I have 2 units or systems, one upstairs, one downstairs, installed in 2014 before I got into this industry. And they're both single stage air conditioners with gas furnace. The bottom floor is served by 90% furnace and the top floor is by 80%. But your question earlier about what's the perfect or what's the best answer, right? It's something to be thinking about a lot. So I'm at 10 years. That's like the beginning of when you start thinking about replacing, right? Mm-hmm. So probably within the next 2 to 5 years, we'll see how well the units hold up. We'll be looking at putting something new and improved in there. So
okay. How about yourself?
Let's see, I have dual fuel. So I have a heat pump that handles the heat most of the time. And then once it gets below 40 degrees, I got a high efficiency gas furnace. Runs in the crawl space, so nothing to worry about freezing, that kind of stuff. And it runs and runs. Don't touch the thermostat. You just let it go.
You have a zoning system on yours, right?
No zoning.
No zoning. Okay.
It's a communicating system. So
set it and leave it.
Set it and leave it. Well, we wanted to, I guess, thank everybody for your time today. Please like and subscribe to the podcast and have a fantastic week.